highlight opportunities and obstacles from former athletes with the thought process of giving the future generation a better understanding about the game.
These conversations are meant to bring awareness and talk about the hardships that come along with the game. Let's get game related.
All right, y'all, we back for another episode. Really excited again. And we're getting real consistent with this thing, man. We got our guy Lou Hinnant in the building. I think this is the first time that we've had a player coach who I would say spent a lot of time, probably would have spent like 7, 8 years overseas,
Yep, 8 years.
right? And you've been coaching for
Just finished my 10th season.
I'm saying, so I think this is going to give a holistic review. We've had players who've played for 12 years but haven't coached, and we've had coaches who's been coaching forever. And I think Lou gonna give us a different perspective from his lens. And I also think Lou is one of the guys. To me, has a real strong resume. He's had a great accolades, high school, college, and overseas. But maybe not get all the credit that I feel like he deserved. He can speak more on that. But I'm excited to have him on the show. Welcome.
Appreciate y'all. Thank y'all for having me, man. Definitely glad to be here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, man, first thing we always ask everybody is handling success, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's trying to get to the mountaintop, but handling it is a different animal. What advice would you give to players, even your players now, of maintaining that level of consistency?
I mean, it's an old cliche, especially in sports and in basketball, is to keep the main thing the main thing.
Mm-hmm.
I try to always go back to before the success and like kind of the things that you wanted leading up to it and what you were willing to do to get it. You know what I mean? Whether that was you felt like you were overlooked or you was better than this person across town, but he's getting all the clippings and I want to be in that spot. So you work for it. You know what I mean? Like it's a lot of, unseen hours so that when, you do get your opportunity to kind of make that statement on the big stage, you can do that, in front of the crowd. And, kind of with that being said, once, let's say you are successful at that, now you're that guy, it's not the time to then, kind of fall back and start enjoying my success and things like that, because just like you was chasing somebody at one point, there's 100,000 million people about to chase you now.
Mm-hmm.
So, and if you're a competitor, when I played, like, my main thing, it was very personal. I didn't have to know you for it to be personal. So I didn't
feel that.
I didn't. I just didn't want to be embarrassed. I didn't want to, didn't matter who you were. Even if I didn't know who you were, the mindset was, well, this no-name dude can't come in here and get at me. And then definitely if I knew who you were, then I'm definitely coming in with, a chip on my shoulder. So, like I said, just keep the main thing, keep that focus, whatever you were willing to do to get in the spot that you got to. Once you get there, it ain't the time to take your foot off the gas because, we've all been around the game for a long time. Players come and go. 2 years from now, we'll be talking about a whole different crop of kids. So the game never stops. The basketball never stops bouncing. For individual, it may, but just the game of basketball is going to continue to go. So you got to be prepared.
Mm-hmm. Great answer, man. Let's go back to high school days. Mm-hmm. First and foremost, how'd you get your nickname Byrd?
People think it came from basketball. So my father's nickname is Tweet.
Okay.
And my grandfather's name is Birdhead. I don't know where that came from, but it just evolution and it just lived over to me. So it actually has nothing to do with basketball. It just was a family name and it just kind of stuck with me.
Okay. And then I always ask this question. So you coaching right now? Mm-hmm. Do we at an age now where don't nobody really know what we did back in the day, right? And so, do you ever get kids that be like, "Coach Lou, you sorry," you know what I'm saying? Like, how do you deal with the kids and then knowing that you got accolades that they wish they had?
I mean, I was fortunate enough. Like I said, I I didn't reclass, I didn't prep, I didn't do any of those things. So I graduated from college. I was 21. I played 8 years overseas. I was 30 when I finished. So when I got into coaching, I could still play. So there was a lot of that when I first got into coaching. And I know this is the straight on camera right here. There was a lot of that when I first got on the coaching. And I think there's a lot less of that because I have a lot of wins under my belt against one-on-one against my players and things like that. Even the main focus with me has always been to win. So even to this day, I can't score with them like I used to be able to, but my team's going to win. You know what I mean? Like that's pretty much what it's going to be. We're going to win the day. We're going to win the series and things like that. And I'm going to always be like that until I can't be like that anymore. So, as long as I can continue to do that, and we talked a little bit about before we started staying in shape for those type of reasons. And and I'm a competitor. I'm always be a competitor. I take that over to the coaching side of things, and I still make sure that if I'm gonna get out there, I'm able to win the game. So
understood. And you always been a big guard, right? A lot of times when you coming up, if you tall, you got to play inside and stuff like that. Did you always have the ball in your hand?
I did because I wasn't always tall.
Oh, okay.
Always probably when I finished my 9th grade season, I played JV at Gwynn Park. I was probably 5'8". You know what I mean? And then something happened. I don't know what happened, but the whole summer, like I'm talking, like they used to call me. It was a joke, a running joke. They was calling me Pat Ewing at the point guard because I had 2 knee like pad type joints that I was wearing, but I'm playing point guard, so it just didn't look right. You know what I'm saying? And the whole time, I'm growing. That's what was going on. And then a lot of you not to start my 10th grade year, I was 6'2". So it was painful though. Like, I couldn't really make any type of sharp movements without like my eyes getting watery. Like, that's how painful it was. But nobody knew what was going on. I was thinking like, man, this basketball thing may not last that long because like this hurt. You know what I mean? And the whole time I was growing, I don't know where it came from, but I went from 5'8" to 6'2" basically in like one summer.
Wow. That's amazing. That's amazing, man. And then all met Gwynn Park. Talk about just your experience.
I had a great experience. I'm from Oxon Hill. I knew nothing about Gwynn Park prior to going there.
Why you didn't go to Oxon Hill?
Truth be told, everybody's like, it was this, that. It was a basketball reason. I got an older brother who was really good at basketball, and it just didn't work out. Like he got expelled at one point, suspended, things like that. Just going to school with the neighborhood guys, and my mother was just like, "You're not going there." So I had my cousins who were from the same neighborhood ended up moving out to Clinton, and I was basically just using their address to go to Gwynn Park because it was supposed to be a better school or something like that. But you start to find out all the schools in PG County are pretty much the same. But with that being said, it was probably the best decision. I didn't make it that anyone's ever made for me because I got out there and I got to meet a lot of people that was very helpful and very genuine, as far as, taking me from, kind of, we talked a little bit about it before, like you kind of know where I come from and the way I kind of grew up, and people that wasn't afraid to tell me that's wrong. That's not how you're going to go about life. You kind of take you from a boy to a man and, teach you how to be accountable and things like that, beyond basketball. Like, the relationship started because of basketball, but it grew because of those other things and kind of holding me accountable when I didn't really know what that was as a 13, 14-year-old coming from where I had come from at the time. And then that kind of just led to the basketball side of things. And, it didn't start out like out the gate, like, you're this really good basketball player. I sat and I watched and I learned from guys like, Charles Ford, Sherrod Ford. You talked earlier about sometimes people forget these names, that were all met, ACC players straight out of high school, things like that. Seth Mitchell, Kellen Pruitt, like guys like that are guys who I learned from. Ricky Harris, who coaches at New World right now. These guys were
nice.
Yeah, like these guys were older than me, but I played on the team with them, and I always, just respected who they were and tried to take a little bit from them. And 4 years later, like you said, you end up all met, and I don't beat my chest like it was something I did. I was just a recipient of everything that those guys was doing, and you get a growth spurt, you know what I mean, and stuff like that, and the rest is history.
Nice, nice. Did you play AAU?
I did, but not like it is today. Up until probably like 10th, 11th grade, I didn't even know what AAU was.
Okay.
I played for Glass Manor Community Center. That's what I played for. You ask me that to this day, like anybody when I was young, you ask me what I played for Glass Manor Rec Center. You come up there, you see me play 24 hours a day. That's what I play. And then I got to high school, and we get to at the time it was just a little different because again, I played with Charles Ford, Sherrod Ford, these guys who were highly recruited. So I didn't see, or no one was really explaining the benefit of it because when I come to workouts in the summer, it is packed with coaches. Like I don't have to go nowhere but to my high school gym.
Wow.
I feel like if I do well in here, like I could get something. Yeah. You know what I mean? Now, with that being said, again, this was a different time in public school basketball where, it wasn't that easy to just come in there and do good. Like you had to, again, I'm young, I'm going against other all-met guys, I wasn't all-met at the time, but they were coming up to be all-met. Yeah. And, just to play well and, again, compete against those guys every day and knowing that coaches were going to be in the gym. I didn't know anything about AAU. The way I got into AAU, this is a story that everybody's going to forget because it's so long ago, but there was a time, again, Charles Ford, Sherrod Ford, Seth Mitchell, I think even Kellen Pruitt, were all playing for the Blue Devils. And this time it was the Potomac Valley Blue Devils.
Was Travis Garrison on that team too?
He was younger. Okay. He was because they're all older than us.
Okay.
So Travis was on he probably had like 15U or something at this time. And something happened the year before with some guys was too old to be playing and the team got suspended and those guys weren't able to get recruited, you know what I mean? Because the team ain't playing. Yeah. So the local public school guys in PG County, who are now huge names, to this day, Glenn Farello at Eleanor Roosevelt. Yeah. You had Billy Lanier at Oxon Hill, Steve Matthews at Gwynn Park, Keith Cotrea at Laurel. I don't want to leave anybody out. I'm sure there was a whole lot of other guys involved. That was a big part of, I believe, Kenny Johnson, who was an assistant for Glenn Farello at the time, was, a part of that. And a few other guys. I don't want to leave nobody out. Yeah. If I did, I'm sorry. Yeah. But they basically decided like all the PG County public school kids was going to play on one team. And
that PG Select.
That was PG Select. Mm-hmm. And just to give you some names on just that first year, you had a team with Mike Sweetney, Sherrod Ford, Delonte Holland, BJ Hagler, Charles Ford. They had, I think, 10 or 11, Richard Little. They had 10 or 11 Division I players on one team. Mm. And when I tell you they ran it up, I believe they lost to, at the time, no big internet and all this kind of stuff. So I have no idea when I'm watching them and I don't know if it was the Final Four or the championship of like the Charlie Weber or Bob Gibbons, whoever we were at. This is Kwame Brown that they lost to. You know what I'm saying? Okay. I don't know that at the time. I just like big dude and he good. But that's who they lost to. Number one pick in the draft. Mm-hmm. And then, the younger team, you're talking Lamar Butler, Phil Goss, Delonte West. Trying to think who else was on that team. But they were loaded. You know what I mean? I don't want to leave nobody else out off that team, but they were loaded. And then to start on our team, you had myself, Sterling Ledbetter, go to Maryland, Chris McCray, who ended up at Maryland as well, Chris Williams, who was at Oxon Hill with the Kent State,
Mm-hmm.
Chris Prince, Oxon Hill, Radford, you know what I mean? And it just kind of showed, people talk about it now like, oh, public school sucks. Like, no, there was a time, once upon a time, you went to your local public school, and I'll say it, the public school would have ran the private league out of the gym at a certain point in time. No question. So just to keep all those kids, and it kind of showed the power that the public high school teams could really have if we just kept all our kids. And every team ran through everything, you know what I mean? And everybody was good, and then that kind of wore off, and then eventually they went back to the shoe teams.
Yeah. And you said they went back to the shoe team?
Yeah, like the Nikes, the Potomac, that was DC Assaults.
And we talked about that on a previous one with Bebe, and he was saying back in the day, the public schools, because the kids went to like played at the rec centers and stuff like that, where they honed their skills, and they went to the public schools, and all the public schools was dominating everything. And then the kind of private schools and stuff like that got on because the shoe companies came in and started kind of latched on to the private schools, what brought the kids and then funneled them, and then now that's when kind of the public kind of dropped off. So yeah, that was
know your history.
For sure.
So what made you pick BC?
Again, the support system I had at Gwynn Park. I said all the time, people will say, oh, we knew this. I'm like, that's a lie, because I didn't know. My mom didn't care nothing about this basketball stuff. Like, you know what I mean? It was, can you go to school for free? And what was the education going to be like? So a lot of it was through my mom and my high school coach. My high school coach dealt with the basketball side of things. My mother just cared that I was going to school for free, I was going to be safe, and it was going to be a good education. With that being said, again, I'm very grateful to my high school coach because he was honest with me. I remember when I played well at the Charlie Weber, and then I started getting like BC, Villanova, Miami, schools like that. And I went on a visit to BC, and he was kind of like, what you think? And I was like, I like it, kind of thinking, I didn't know how none of this stuff worked, how the recruiting worked, like, waiting for the next opportunity, like, And he was like, well, where would you want to go? I was like, well, like Maryland, North Carolina, something like that. Just being realistic with me. Well, Maryland just went to the national championship. You know what I mean? They ain't checking for you. You know what I'm saying? They trying to get McDonald's type guys, 4 stars, 5 stars.
Being honest with you.
Yeah, and you're not going to North Carolina. Flat out, that's what he said. Not going to North Carolina. Like, you know what I'm saying? They getting McDonald's All-Americans. Like, you're not that. This school, you'll get the chance to play against all those teams that you just bought up. It's a great education so that you'll be good. Because this thing was like, I don't know if you're going to be able to play pro or not. Like, you know what I mean? But you get a good education. You have a good career after that. And, in the meantime, you could compete against all them teams you talking about. And I listened to them, and that was that.
Okay.
That's what's up, Joe. Go through, man, you got this clip when y'all was playing Duke. You know what I mean? You went down the hill and you banged it on them, man. Talk about some of your best and your worst experiences in college, and also your role changed. You know what I'm saying? Where you went from, and I had a similar experience in college where I was playing full-time point guard, but I had other guys that can really go, right? And so my ability to score or whatever, like I was more the coach on the floor. You know what I mean? I got everybody where they needed to go, that was more my responsibility than scoring 20, you know what I mean? And so like talk about both of those experiences for you and the transition of that.
So I'll start off by saying like my numbers changed.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say my role changed, because even if you look at it in high school, it was just all about what did this team need for us to win.
Okay.
I got a lot of credit at Gwynn Park, no one remembers I wasn't the leading scorer. Derek Sesker, it was the leading scorer on our team. Okay. Even my senior year, we were the same year. I was the point guard, he was the two guard. Derek Sesker was our leading scorer. And now we were close, and then I did the assist thing and rebound, all that kind of stuff, because he was a flat out scorer. I had played with him since middle school. I knew he got no conscience. Like I'm not like that. You know what I'm saying? Like I come out, I'm start out 0 for 4. I'm like, I'm going to the rack for the rest of the game. You know what I mean? Jump shots is over. He come out 0 for 4, and his mind, he thinking, well, the next 4 gotta go in. You know what I mean? Like that's how he think. So just playing with him, I knew I need to get him the ball. I'm gonna do my thing just throughout the game. I got some other guys with some ability. Like if I can get them involved, like we can go to the state championship or win the state championship. We lost in the state championship, but that's what that team needed. Okay. And as a 10th grader, I played varsity, but like I told you, I'm playing with Sherrod Ford, Charles Ford. They don't need me to do that. So I did a lot of this. You know what I mean? And which kind of, as a bigger guard, got me recruited. As an 11th grader, those guys were gone. I have to score more. You know what I mean? So I started scoring more. And like I said, as a senior, Derek Sesker's coming into his own. I don't need to get in his way. I'm gonna find him. I'm gonna find these other guys. And I was confident enough, like this is no arrogance, that I can get mines, and I'll figure out how to get mines. You know what I mean, without getting in everybody else's way. So as I got to college, I think that mindset, and also not having situations which kids are trying to do today, catered to me. Like I don't go here and say, oh, they already got an all-met guard at this high school, so I ain't going there. I'm gonna go over here where I'm the best player, and this, that, and the third. And I'll get to college, and at the time, I walk into currently already on the roster, arguably the best backcourt in the country. Troy Bell, Ryan Sidney, right? It was them, or it was Jameer Nelson, Delonte West. It was those two. Think I'm lying? Go find ESPN magazine. It's on the cover of ESPN magazine. So how does this work? If that's the 1 year 2, they consider the best backcourt in the country. It's only 40 minutes a game. How's that gonna work? You know what I mean? But I come in, again, I'm coming in with the mindset of I'm gonna learn. Troy Bell was a senior. I'm gonna learn as much as I can. Ryan was a junior. So I'm like, hopefully, I could be in backcourt with him, in his senior year and things like that. But I was around enough good coaches and enough good basketball the coaches, my college coaches, didn't have to tell me how I could help this team. Like again, that was always my thing. Like, all right, what does this team have? Well, we got Troy. He's Big East all-time leading scorer. I don't need to get in his way. Ryan Sidney's a good backup. I come in with Craig Smith, who was a freak. Like he's 6'7" at the time as a freshman. He was probably like 280, 290, but was like a guard. You know what I mean? And I'm just like, which was never my thing in high school. I'm a guard. That's what I'm doing. Troy ain't trying to guard nobody. Like I'm gonna come in. I'm gonna guard whoever is the best player on the other team. I pick up 94 feet. I let Troy get off the ball a little bit so he could do what he do, be the Big East all-time leading scorer. You know what I mean? And that year, I lie to you not, you can go look it up. In Big East play, he averaged 30. So that'll just allow him to do what he do. You know what I mean? And again, and sometimes the next year, maybe it was something different. You know what I mean? And the next year was something different, but I always wanted to be a player that can adapt. And based on what we have, how can we maximize winning? You know what I mean? It wasn't necessarily about me. I thought if we win and I'm the point guard, I look good. Like, you know what I mean? I'm gonna get credit. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's how I've always viewed the game. Like, you can't knock winning. You know what I mean? I could play for a long time if I'm winning.
Yeah.
And Tyrese Rice came in when you were older, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I had a lot of good
same dynamic. Like I was a senior when he came in as a freshman, and we hit it off right away. I think mainly because of the area we was from. He's from Richmond. Okay. I'm from here, and I know it's not right. It ain't the DMV, but one of the things in college, especially when you go through like out of town, is being able to talk your own lingo.
Mm-hmm.
So when he got to campus, and then I'm saying young, slim, John, like all that, he's saying it back. I'm John this. We like, all right, like we hanging out. I don't think he a freshman. Like we hang out, and just relationships through basketball. Like before I came here, you look at my call log. The last call I made was to Tyrese Rice. You know what I mean? We was talking last night, watching the Minnesota game. All the way to literally the last possession when Luka hit it, because he said when they got to the last possession, he was like, "I gotta call you back. I gotta watch this like straight up." You know what I'm saying? And then that was I watched it. Luka made the shot. Nasri missed, and I went to sleep. You know what I mean? But just through those relationships, through basketball, you know what I mean? Lifelong relationships, like that's literally like a brother to me. Like my little brother and Tyrese Rice talk on the regular on a regular basis. You know what I mean? So, that was a huge experience to be at a school like Boston College.
That's what's up.
Okay. So one of the probably one of the most important when you're going into the professional career is picking an agent, and definitely if it can really set your career up and kind of the path that you wanted to go, really, right? So tell us, how was that experience? Did you stay with the same guy the whole time? And some kind of like do's and don'ts that you would give the young guys about?
Definitely didn't stay with the same agent the whole time. And I would say, just as a rule of thumb, like, future players don't expect to. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, it's a business. I think if you're a good player, like you're kind of used to having relationships. Like for me, it was my high school coach, and even my rec ball coaches. Like I see them today. It's coach. Hey, what's up, coach?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? They may want you like you're 40 now. Like you call me by what's up, coach? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like it's still that to this day. So we probably always had people in our lives that was consistent. With this agent thing, it's not meant to be consistent. You know what I mean? And we initially start out wanting that. So you finish college and you think like I'm gonna meet this guy. He's gonna look out for my best interests. Like my high school coach did. Like hopefully my college coaches did. And at the end of the day, that may be his goal. Like me, but if such and such a guy is just a better business model for me, have a better business plan for me in my career, better connections than this guy. Is not personal, but we only can play this game. We talk about it like if you play 10 years, like you're very lucky.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like you're super lucky. Like people think, like to even kind of say to players like in the recruiting process, like I think you can play to 32, 33 years old. They're like 32, 33, like what? Like you don't think I'm like, dude, that's 10, 11 years. That's a long time. Like things go wrong. Like, injuries start happening, life start kicking in. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. And you think it's never gonna happen, but it happens. It happens to everybody. You know what I mean? And with that being said, you have to maximize whatever window you have because, let's say you are able to play to 35. God willing, hopefully you got 50, 60 more years to live. And that's a little 8 to 10 year window. If you didn't, put down some type of foundation to get you going in that next direction in life, then it could hinder you. You know what I mean? And I've seen it go both ways. I've seen people set themselves up to be really well. Not to say that they're rich. This is another thing I like to say. Straight back to the camera. They'll tell you that 1% of us are gonna make it to the NBA, right? But 1% of them are gonna make enough money to never have to work again. So, with that being said, even if you do become a pro, you make a good amount of money, you still need to be thinking about the next step in life, because it's a lot of dudes that get out here and they never quite find that next thing. And when there's no income coming in,
Boy.
man, and it goes a lot faster than you think. Like, it's all sweet, like when you know, all right, I done went here and I ran it up, but another check about to come on Friday. Like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But when it ain't coming, and a real dose of reality hit in, when you got to really alter your lifestyle, people struggle with that. You know what I mean? It's an identity crisis, you know what I mean? And things like that. So while I would say, while it's fun, like, think about, setting yourself up for the next thing, even if that's, a stable house or whatever the case may be. Like, worst come to worst, I got this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And even connections, you know what I mean? We talked about keeping the main thing. Like, on that rise to the top, don't be so much on your high horse that, you're not making friends, because believe it or not, it's going to be those people while you doing this in the basketball world. Like, somebody's working day to day to build whatever resume that they have to build, and you may have to come back and like, hey, how do I get involved in that? Can you? And if you was not so fun to be around on that come up, people not gonna want to help you.
Yeah, you need some people to catch you for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing you just said that really hit home is just the 8 ball. You're done playing basketball, right? But these other guys that didn't have a basketball life, like, they're doing internships their junior, senior year of college.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So they already getting these jobs, right? And so they say, yo, well, you're a basketball guy, right? But you don't have no experience in these other platforms.
Mm-hmm.
So either you jump into the basketball world, which a lot of us do, but if you want to take that other route, you gotta almost start from scratch again.
Mm-hmm.
And like, you behind probably 5 years of people.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? In that process. Yeah. And like that's the piece that a lot of us don't really understand, going into, okay, I'm gonna take this basketball route, but not hedging those relationships.
Yep. Yep, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And then, like what you alluded on about the identity crisis piece, it's like you got to get past that part. For me, I feel like you had to get past that part to get to the part where you want to try to find that job or do, so it's definitely a journey for sure.
And a lot of times it ain't, it's not you, everybody around you.
I was gonna say your environment, boy.
You know what I mean? I was in the most respectful, the most, like, nobody meant to do it. But when I decided, like, I don't know if I want to go back overseas. Like, I don't know if I want to play no more. What? Like, you quitting?
Mm-hmm.
What you mean you don't want to play no more? Like, and honestly, I played one more year than I wanted to because of that. You know what I'm saying? I was like, I think I'm done. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm cool. I done missed a lot. Like, I've been gone since high school. I've been living, I'm from Oxon Hill, Maryland. I've been in Boston for 4 years. I go from Boston to Europe for 8 years. I've been gone a long time. And then, like, finally I had been thinking about it, and you just throw it out there one night, like, I don't know if I'm trying to go back over there.
Yeah.
And it didn't go the way I thought it was going to go. I thought people was going to be like, oh yeah, like, you back home for good, woo, woo, woo. Nah, it ain't go like that. Like,
you the hero though, in a way.
Yeah, and I didn't view it that way. I'm thinking, I'm eventually I get back, you start thinking, like, and I said it, y'all ain't over there for 10 months. You know what I'm saying? Practice twice a day, every day. You know what I mean? A lot of alone time. Like, you know what I mean? And I'm not a dude that's just outside all the time. So for me, it was wake up, eat, practice, lunch, nap, practice, dinner, sleep, wake up, eat, practice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This is what I do day in, day out for 10 months. With that being said, my basketball game was the best it was going to be because I was locked in, but you miss a lot of time. When you gone from August to June, and your mother's birthday is in March,
Mm-hmm.
I've been gone 12 years. That's 12 birthdays you ain't spent with your mother. That's however many Christmas. I ain't seen a Thanksgiving until I became a coach with my family. You know what I'm saying? So, things like that, as you get older, it start to weigh on you a little bit. And those are the things I was thinking about. And in the meantime, like I said, other dudes was like, what? Like, talk about,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you know what? That was a good segue into this next question because I was going to ask, what was some of the big adjustments you had to, going overseas to play, and just from what you just said, just missing family in those moments. That's an adjustment in itself. Once you're going through, like you said, after I done missed 5 birthdays, now you might be thinking like, man, like, I mean, you still not ready to hang it up after that time, but just missing that time, missing family, like, what are some of those adjustments, and what are some of your favorite places that you when you played?
I played in Sweden, Finland, Hungary, Germany, Poland, Ukraine. I really enjoyed Germany, Sweden, and Hungary, all for different reasons. But some of the adjustments I felt like you got to make is you got to get comfortable being by yourself a lot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's a lot of free time. And something you hit on with the interns and stuff like that. If I could do anything over, I would have figured out how to get involved in some of those things because there is a lot of free time. You know what I mean? There's time like ain't no classes, ain't no like I gave you the schedule. You know what I mean? Like, wake up, eat, practice. You get a little break in between the day. I would take my nap just to be ready for the next practice and stuff like that. That's literally all you're doing, which gave me hours. If I was more efficient with my time, like I should have went back to school. I eventually did go back to school to get my master's, but I could have probably did that when I was playing or got involved in some type of internship, on the business side of things. Just learn something, you know what I mean?
Starting to build that next step where you want.
While it's going well. Too many of us wait till
it's over.
And then be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna learn real estate now. Like,
they tell you prepare for war when you don't need it.
Exactly. You know what I mean? So that's the one thing. A big adjustment is just how much time, like this free time and alone time there is. Outside of that, man, I felt like by going to school away from home, I was prepared for. It wasn't the same because I'm in a totally different country, which was always for somebody like me, like was always like, I never took that for granted. Like that, I'd be walking to the grocery store and like, yo, I'm in wherever I'm at. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is crazy. You know what I'm saying? But, like I always just appreciated where I was at and tried to learn as much as I could. So just adapting to other people's culture wasn't ever a problem for me. I tried to learn their language. I probably wasn't great at it, but they always just appreciated the fact that I tried. And I wasn't the American. You don't speak English? You know what I mean? I was like, I'm not going to do that. Like, you know what I'm saying? That was one of my main things. Like, I was not going to do that. Like, because I'm like, we in somebody else's country. Like, oh, that's rude, bro. Like, I used to tell my teammates, like, don't do that. Like, we in their country. We should at least try to learn how to say, hey, how you doing? I don't speak whatever. And see if they can help me instead of be like, yo, my man, you don't speak English? Like, like, don't do that.
Try to blend in with them.
Yeah.
How was Sweden for you?
It was great. It was the first country I went to.
That's what he played.
I played in Gothenburg.
Okay, I was in Sundsvall.
Okay.
Sundsvall Dragons was my first job. Again, I knew nothing about European basketball at the time, but I had a really good coach. His name was David. I used to call him Coach David. I can't remember his last name. I want to say Bolden. And he was just he was patient with me. He was good. Like I knew this was cutthroat. Like, everybody could tell he was cutthroat. I kept hearing the threats of like, even from him, like, practice start being bad. Like, send y'all home. You know what I mean? Like, all that kind of stuff. So I'm like, for me, coming from Boston College, like you said, my role was different. Well, like I said, I felt my role was the same, but my numbers were different.
Right.
And then to get into a situation like that was like, nah, we want you to do a little bit more. And I thought I was doing more. Like, you know, I was over there. I was average like, probably, I remember like Christmas break. I was average like 14 and like 6. And I was like, that was up. That was up from what I was used to. And we was winning. And he was like, man, you got to shoot the ball more. I was like, man, I ain't heard that in a long time. You know what I'm saying?
That's a hard thing to channel back, Joe.
Yeah.
That's a very hard thing to channel back.
And I remember it was like, in my mind, the way I played, I went up for a shot, and it was somebody open in the corner, and I, boom, to the corner. And then like that next game, after that game was over, we watched film, he was like, you got to shoot that. And I was like, well, he was open. Like, you got to shoot that. And it started to rebuild
who you were.
Yeah, like, you know, he literally said, I'd rather you take that contested one than that one, because I see you shoot. Like, you're going to make that. You're going to make that. So I'm like, okay. It gave me a chance to like retrain. I had to retrain my whole mind, you know what I mean? To like, you got to be super aggressive. Like, if you don't do X, Y, and Z, we're not going to win at a high level, you know what I mean? Which is to try to win a championship. And you know, as I started to get that back, Sweden, like I enjoyed it. Like, you know, he helped me get that back. And like I said, he was patient with me, and because sometimes by Christmas things can happen. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Somebody else coming in.
You know, but like I said, he is like, and I think again, my saving grace was always, I did think like 14-6, like you're doing good, but at the same time, we winning.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're gonna always win. You know what I mean? And that was the thing. But then he just wanted me to do more, and I was grateful for that, to be able to just kind of get that swagger back.
Yeah. To your testament, from what you already alluded to, just always trying to figure out being adaptable, and then to what I need to do to help the team. For your entire career, you already had that mindset. So now when he tells you that, it's like, oh yeah, what you need me to do? All right, cool. You know what I'm saying? It's like he brung it back, but it's just like, I'm already kind of in this mode. It's like, all right, you needed me to do that? All right, well, let's try to turn this on and let's go.
Exactly.
So, yeah. So what were some of your biggest takeaways from playing overseas?
Again, the ability to be alone. Like, you know, I got a lot of friends, you know, my friends are my friends. Like, I don't, you know, we kind of a big group, and I'm always able to lean on them, and they're able to lean on me, and I appreciate them for that. And, you know, my wife now, who was my girlfriend at the time, would be upset, like in high school, college, and all that, because no matter where we were at.
Talking about y'all from high school?
My wife?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what's up, Joe.
Yeah, that's all right.
But she would tell you, like, they're always around. Like, no matter what we do, like, why are they always around? But yeah, just the ability to be away on your own, like, that's where it really hits. Like, not in the college in the dorm where everything's taken care of for you and you got a dining hall and all that. Like, I'm by myself out here. You know what I'm saying? Like, anything that goes wrong, I can't call my mother and be like, yo, mom, can you come and help me with this? Like, no, you on your own. You got your own bills. You do your own cooking, everything. You know, the car, something happened with the car, that's on you to go get it fixed, or, you know, whatever the case may be. And I think that was just, again, all this stuff for me was just a maturation process, you know, because I didn't always, I didn't have the guidelines to like know how to change a tire and how to do this and how to do that. And for me, it was little things like that was the measuring stick for like, all right, I'm growing up. I'm on the right path. Like, it was things like that. It wasn't the basketball. Like, you know what I mean? It wasn't the basketball. It was stuff like that. The fact that I could hold my own. And, you know, when I got my first car note, you know what I mean? I'm like, I'm paying it. Like, you know, I'm doing this. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, things like that. Like, you know, again, by being overseas and just being alone and having to take on those type of responsibilities was more of a, like, I was more happy at this point now in life. I don't want no car notes, but
None.
you know what I'm saying? But at that time, like, for me to be able to do it and, you know, not be late on my payments and stuff like that was a big deal for me, you know, as far as like me being able to measure myself from who I wanted to be, you know, as a man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Real quick, talk about trying to balance your relationship, just through them whole years and then being overseas and like having to work through that and obviously y'all together, you know, that's a tough thing.
It's difficult. One of the things that makes it super difficult is the time difference.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? 6 hour difference in most places from the East Coast.
Yeah.
When she's, you know, and that's another thing too. Like when she's waking up, I'm either at practice or getting that nap in. I was telling y'all about so I can get to the next practice. And then when I'm getting ready, or when she's getting ready to get off work, about getting ready, time to lay it down, like that's probably 11, 12 o'clock at night for me in Europe, while she's getting off at 5 or 6 in the evening. You try to make it work. And then even in those days, like all this, like we from the free nights and weekends era, like, so all the unlimited data plan and all of that, I wasn't a thing. So yeah, so when we go on the road, ain't no communication. You know what I mean? Unless you know Roman charges, unless you're willing to do that, which I wasn't. Like I wasn't making that type of money to just be like, all right, forget it. You know, and paying $1,000 phone bills. Like, you know, I wasn't doing that. So it's like, all right, we traveling. When we get to the hotel, like hopefully they got good Wi-Fi. I can hit you there, and stuff like that. So it made it difficult. And you know, to kind of help bridge the entire gap, she came with me my first 6 months in Sweden.
Okay.
And then she graduated from Coppin State. She had her own career, so she was like, just be real with you. It's been fun, you know what I mean, over the 6 months, but I got some things I want to do career-wise as well. So I'm gonna have to go back. Like when Christmas came, like she went home and she pretty much stayed home and started her career, you know, which I'm glad she did, you know, and not just waited around to see what was gonna happen with basketball. She got her thing going too, because that's very beneficial for our family as well.
That's what's up. That's what's up. All right. So I need you to get this question for you as a player and then you as a coach.
Okay.
All right. Go-to move. Just like last night. Last night, right? Luka, right? 12 seconds left. Lou, where you want the ball at and what you going to get a bucket?
I want the ball slightly off center if I'm facing the basket on the left-hand side.
Okay.
The reason why, there's two moves. I'm probably going to double tween Hezzy with my left hand because my left hand Hezzy's way better than my right hand Hezzy.
Okay, so it's left, you go boom, boom.
Yep, I'm baba, and then I'm here.
Yep.
All right. If I can get left, I'm going.
Okay.
Right? Because for whatever reason,
you just
I don't want to screen, get out of it. If I can get downhill, or even if I can't, because I got some size. If I can get downhill on my left, I can jump off my left leg and I'm gonna get something off. Okay. If you take away, if I can't, I'm gonna bump you. And I like bump fade. Rest in peace to one of my closest friends in basketball, Andrew SpongeBob Washington. I gamed you on that. I know you up there laughing at this.
Rest in peace.
But you know, and that was where we were in Ukraine when that happened. He was so mad. But yeah, so if I can get to my left and I can't get to the rim, I just bump you, fall away off the glass. Okay. If you jump that, my favorite move is the left to right crossover. Okay. So that's all I'm setting up. Whichever one you want to do. If you let me get to my left, I got two things that I really want to get to. If you jump that Hezzy, I'm left to right crossover, and now I'm getting to my right hand downhill. So
real simple.
Real simple.
Real simple.
And that's important to know. Like even when I work out with guys, like I always say, like I don't train and say we're gonna do this move. Yeah. Like I'm like I may give you a setup and be like, well, what you do when you go here? Yeah. Like what do you do? And sometimes dudes be like, I don't know.
Right?
Ain't
I wouldn't even think about that before.
You know what I mean? And that's, for the younger kids, like that's important to note, like your body movements and what's natural to you, because what's natural to you, like that move may come super easy to you. And it just don't feel right to me. You know what I mean? And I've had that, I try to take that into coaching because I've had people tell me that as a coach, you got to do it this way, you got to do it this way. I'm like, the way he doing it, I don't shoot like that. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Or just different things. Like when I was coming up to Tim Hardaway, boom, that was the thing. I didn't like it. You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm kind of bigger. Like, I think somebody sit down, like they plucking that. You know what I'm saying? So I like the Iverson crossover a little bit more. You know what I mean? That was the one I wanted to learn.
Just raise up off that.
Yeah. And sometimes telling coaches, like even when you want to work out with somebody, like, I ain't really my thing. Like they ain't want to hear that. You know what I mean? So.
I know what you're talking about. Like, don't do it this way.
Yeah. But I try to be that way as a coach. Like, all right, this is the situation. Like, what you like? What you like right here? And then we build off of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think Calvin Cage had the Timmy. That was his thing.
So
go ahead.
Yeah, no, I would say that's interesting because I never heard nobody approach it that way. It's always we gonna work on these moves or what I think you should have in your toolbox or whatever, instead of somebody saying, well, what are some of the moves that you like to do? You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, that's definitely good. I literally never heard nobody even ask the player that instead of trying to direct them because, you have the experience, you've done everything, and like, no, you need to do this.
Yeah. And I personally, I think there are certain things in your DNA that's just what you do. You know what I mean? Like you move like this, you do it like this. What I'll try to do is I like to see you play before I even train. Like we start working out, because I'll just be watching like, oh, he be doing that all the time. Like he gets to that right there, and then I put myself in the defender's shoes now and be like, all right, if you do that and I take this away, what you going to now? And then we start working off of that. You know what I mean? Because naturally you do this one thing all the time. Like you always do this, and then all right, but if they do this, how we count off of that? And then that's where a lot of obviously you still need some basic things, you know what I mean, that everybody needs to have, the fundamentals and stuff like that. But when we start getting into the nuances of your game, I want to build it off like when things really hit the fan and somebody jump up, what do? You know what I mean? Because it's just different. Like I tell my guys all the time, for me, I can really handle the ball. I don't handle the ball like Kyrie Irving. So his whole cadence and his package, like, I'm not about to do that because the pace and rate at which he does it, I don't move like that. You know what I mean? I'll watch Deron Williams. I'll watch Chauncey Billups. You know what I mean? Guys like that who they bop a little bit more. You know what I'm saying? That's how I move. And I'll steal stuff from them because we got a similar bop. You know what I mean? And so I see a lot of guys just because they like what it looks like you trying, Kyrie did this last night, so you trying.
You're not him.
You don't move like that at all, my man. Like never close to it. You know what I mean? But go for it. But don't waste too much time trying to be something that's not you.
Yeah.
It's crazy because we'll get into a little bit more on the trainer side, but like you working on their instincts, their mental, right? You working on their state of mind, and then that's when the instincts come in more so than it's not robotic. You know what I mean? I appreciate that because like when I work with kids, I gotta watch them 4 or 5 times before I even get in the gym with them, so I can understand what they like to do, where they like the ball and stuff like that. Because you can't really build if you just start from scratch. We'll talk a little bit more on that. So you kind of talked about why you called it quits, with hooping. But let's talk about that transition into coaching. What made you get into that?
Again, it goes back to relationships and being a good person, while you have the opportunities that you do have. I did want to get out of playing basketball at some point. I wanted to be able to come back home. I didn't quite know what I would transition into.
Okay.
But the year before, kind of when I told you guys about how I was, letting people know I didn't want to go back, my coach who I played for, he was the assistant coach at Boston College, Pat Duquette.
Okay.
got the head job at UMass Lowell. He called me, said, "Hey, I think I'm gonna get this job. Would you be interested?" Um, the outside, I don't want to say the outside noise because this was from my inside circle, but the stuff I was hearing, I was like, "Nah, I'm gonna go back for another year." You know what I'm saying? I want to make sure I got all the player out of my system. I don't want to be on the bench wishing I was still playing, all that kind of stuff. It was like, all right, cool.
He still kept the invitation open, clearly.
So I go play.
That's awesome.
And then the next year, I'm getting kind of towards the end of the season. And I don't know how this worked, but I don't think that same opportunity is there. And it wasn't there. Excuse me. It wasn't there. But to my knowledge, it wasn't there. But I hadn't reached out or anything. I did do a good job of like staying in touch, email, and all that kind of stuff. And then close friend of mine, teammate of mine, who also played for the coach, Jared Dudley, called. He was like, "Yo, Coach Duke just called me. Just wanted me to kind of fill you out. Use you in, you got a spot open, yada yada yada." So again, called my high school coach. A lot of decisions I made to this day go back to my high school coach. Called him, was like, "Yeah." The funny thing was, I had a good that last year. I had a really good year, and I had already re-signed for another year.
Okay.
So I'm like, I know how this could go, so I ain't gonna say nothing till I get back. But I called my high school coach, and I was like, "Hey, this kind of what's on the table, and kind of what my mindset is. I could probably play for another couple years, and yada yada yada." And he was saying exactly what he said. I'll never forget it. He was like, "I'd rather you get out a year or two too early than a year or two too late." So I'm like, "What would that mean?" And he was like, "Like Division I coaching jobs, they don't just come around when you feel like it. You know what I mean? As we said, like these jobs is hard to get. It's not just going to be on the table when you ready. Like fortunately, somebody reached out to you 2 years in a row, for a job, but don't think that's just how this going to go." So that's what he said. "I'd rather you be a year or two too early than a year or two too late, and transition into your next thing." So I ended up leaving. I got back home first. I left Europe. I got back home. I called the people back because I wasn't having that conversation over there. And just was like, "Hey, I don't think I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna get into coaching." They was upset, but no, it was what it was. I was back on American soil at that point.
They couldn't hold you hostage.
So I went out. I started out at UMass Lowell as the director of basketball operations, and I enjoyed it. Again, little stuff like was my measuring stick for like that I was doing something in life. Like I remember first time I faxed something. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm working in the office, you know what I'm saying? And it's crazy because most people probably like, "Man, I wish I was a pro athlete. I wish I played," like, you know what I'm saying? And I'm coming in there like about to fax something, you know what I'm saying? Send something in the fax machine. Like I ain't never did that before. You know what I mean? Just little stuff like that. Like I was just happy to be like I wake up, I put my clothes on, I go here every day. You know what I'm saying? Like just regular, I never had a job. You know what I mean? I had a basketball job, you know what I'm saying?
I know what you mean.
You know what I mean? Like I never had like a 9 to 5. You know what I mean?
Now that's what's up. So you stayed at UMass, I want to say what?
9 years.
9 years, right? And to me, coaches are always jumping ship to ship. Now, some of it don't got nothing to do with them. It has to be with the head coach. But like, what made you stay that long?
Again, relationships. I'm a loyal dude. I talked about my circle, my friend circle earlier. These are the same dudes I've been cool with since middle school, high school. 90% of us was teammates at some point. You know what I mean? And those are my guys. No different here. I viewed it as somebody who, when I was trying to figure out what I wanted the next thing in life to be, he reached out. You know what I mean? And not only did he reach out twice. When I turned it down the first time, he reached out the second time. So I, to this day, still feel indebted to him because a bunch of people want these jobs. He didn't have to do that.
I know that.
And, just to have, somebody to look out for me like that, I wanted to make sure that before I did anything, like made any type of moves, the program was in a good spot and I left it better than what I found it. And at this point at UMass Lowell, they've been to 3 of the last 4 championships in America East, haven't quite gotten over the hump as far as winning the championship. But when we got there, it was a Division II program going through the transition of Division I.
Okay.
So those first 4 years, you can't even go to the NCAA tournament. You can't even compete in the conference tournament.
Wow.
But so for the last 4 years they've been to 3 championships. I felt okay. If an opportunity, arises, and obviously, a situation happened with a close childhood friend of mine, Tony Skin, was able to get the job at George Mason. It made sense for me I'm coming back home.
Mm-hmm.
I moved right into the house that I bought when I was a player, moved right back into my old house, like stuff like that. It just made sense. And, again, I didn't feel like I was leaving on a down note or a program that was in turmoil. This was a program that was up on the rise that now in the DMV, I remember when I first got the job, I'm at UMass Lowell. What? Where? Who? What conference are they in? Division I? Like all this kind of stuff. To at least in this area, you don't have to.
Yeah.
You say I go to UMass Lowell. People know what that is. You know what I mean? Because we've had some really good players from this area come there and have really successful careers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I know this kind of going back, right? We already kind of brushed over it.
True.
But a lot of times when within the show, we'll talk about like, the hardships in the game. And one of those hardships is when you're done, a lot of people don't exit the way they wanted to, right? Mm-hmm. And making that adjustment, coming back home, is like, some people depressed, some people go through, that identity crisis thing. But in your situation, you was able to leave on your terms, basically, and then come home to a situation where it was like, it's acceptable. No, it wasn't like this mystery or the identity crisis. Like how beneficial was that for you? Because when we talk to other guys, they going through it. You know what I'm saying? They didn't leave when they wanted to leave, and then they really was trying to figure out, like, that 5 year I'm behind, I'm trying to figure this out. I don't know what I'm gonna do. So speak a little bit about how just your adjustment from coming from playing to like, okay, I'm still around, the game.
Yeah. So what I was able to transition into, I'm probably more grateful than most people are, like in that situation. The reason why is that other side that you're talking about, I went through it the year before. Mm-hmm. I just went back and played another year. Mm-hmm. I did not want to, you know what I mean? But I felt it, like, and I seen it. Either it was from people around me, it's from me. Again, in those dark hours, those alone hours, like, all right, but what you gonna do though? You know what I'm saying? And like you can fool everybody else, you can't fool yourself. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? We're like, all right, but what's the next move gonna be? And I didn't quite know. And in going back and playing another year, I really feel like that was just God. Like, I went there. I had a good year. I had a great year. Like I said, good enough to where I was already signed for another year before the season had ended. And then the opportunity came in and it allowed me to transition out the right way. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because, like I said, had it happened that year before, if I would have just stuck with what I wanted to do, it probably wouldn't have been as, sweet of a transition. Mm-hmm. But, things happen the way that they happen for a reason. Mm-hmm. And for me, being able to see that other side and knowing, up until that point, I had never believed in like depression or none of that. I mean, dudes are soft out here. Like, you know what I mean? That's how I felt. But I know now, just having a little more education, at that moment in my life, you was depressed.
Yeah, a lot of times you don't even know you depressed. Mm-hmm. Especially because our environment never really
allows you. Yeah,
You're not allowed to. It's,
Mhm.
50 Cent said this one time. He said depression is a wealthy person. Damn, I'm messing the word up. But he was like, we don't got time for it. You know what I'm saying? Because we still trying to figure stuff
Gotta
out. So
find the
we
next
don't
thing.
got time to even know that we depressed.
Mhm.
You know, like yeah, it always hits you when you come out of it. You like, damn, I was depressed.
That was a dark time. You know what I mean? And even that, like I never used to. When people say, "Oh man, it was a dark time in my life," I didn't really understand that.
Yeah.
And then in hindsight, I was just like, man, I remember I didn't really want to do nothing. I didn't want to see nobody. I didn't want to, you know. And again, for me to transition out the right way and having a good year, having a chance to get right into like I leave there, and I really figure out. I don't want to say figure out because I love competing, but coaching still gives me a chance to compete. But I found that I think I might get more gratification out of like my player. Like we figured it out. Like he about to go and do whatever X, Y, Z. He about to be a pro. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, I'm like, I'm more into that than I feel like I was into my thing. You know what I mean?
So talk about like your recruiting process or how that is, and the recruiting process, and like what you look for when you like recruiting these players.
Again, stole this motto from my old coach, but I start with smart, skill, tough. And I don't really get into physicals and all that because that's our job. To when you get here, we all know the meal plan change. You know, especially if you grew up probably how we grew up. I'm trying to get outside as quickly as I can. Like I wake up, brush my teeth, I'm gone. You know, I had to reverse curfew as a kid. Like you couldn't go outside into a certain time. Not like come back in. Mother was like, no, you can't go outside at 12 because I'll be gone at 7:30. You know what I mean? Like, so as I wake up and I'm just outside all day. I was one of the kids that like come back home, you order carry out, and then I'm back outside till nighttime. Hopefully we might order it again off the late night. So you get your little 2 meals. So just having that meal plan on campus is like, to see how different it is. I can eat whenever I want all day. Like you're gonna bulk up, you're gonna gain weight, things like that. You know, full-time strength and conditioning guy. Like the physical part, I feel like we can figure that out. But IQ, I don't feel like that's something that drastically changes as you get older in life. Like, you know, once you like 20, like you learn new things, but if that IQ is low, it's gonna be low. You know what I mean? The skill part, you know, again, we can get in the gym when we work, but as you know, working with dudes, some dudes just, man, he can just shoot that thing. You know what I mean? It's just natural. Like we can enhance those things, but some people, you just got it. You know what I mean? And I could be wrong, but that's also one of those things that I feel like for example, this is not taking a shot at anybody, but like, oh, he can't go left. Like we 21, 22 years old, he ain't gonna be able to go left. You know what I mean? You know, I think if that's not something like as a kid, not necessarily as a kid, but like in your younger years, like if you haven't started, because your DNA starts kicking in. Jaylen Brown, $300 million man. There's nothing I can say about him, but you can tell instinctively he 99% rather go this way than, you know, the other way. It's not as fluid, and he's probably got the best trainers in the world, but some things just
subconscious.
So you just subconscious. It just is what it is. And then the tough part, I don't think that's something you add on to somebody as they get old. You can't fake it. We can go lift all the weights we want to. If you ain't willing, like he's coming at you 100 miles an hour, and you ain't willing to put your body on the line. Like I biggest thing I hate about the kids, you know, in this area, like so many in this era, so many guys like, I don't take charges. What you mean you don't take charges? Well, nah, when I was young, I had to fail, but if that's the difference between winning and losing the game, are you gonna take charge? I don't take charges.
Man, really? What? I could imagine saying that when we were coming up playing.
Exactly. To me, you don't take charge. But to me, it just goes in. kind of soft then. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, because if that's what it's going to take to win the game or get such, like, you may not see it as a direct, it won the game, but if you're the best player and now you got to go sit down because I was able to step in and get you your third foul early in the game, that's what I got to do. You know what I mean? And again, it was different. Like, for whatever reason, like, I was one of those dudes that, like, I was a Dennis Rodman fan. So I wanted, like, the opportunity to fake, like, dive for the ball out of bounds and all that kind of stuff. Like, I wanted to do all of that. And, you know, even in football, like, I played football, like, I wanted to, like, kind of go and get hit and keep the catch, you know what I'm saying, and still catch it.
You play receiver?
Yeah, okay. I wanted to be able to lay out and go get it. Like, I don't know why, but I wanted the type of plays, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, I got older brothers, and, you know, that's how we played. Like, we played over the top, like when you just jump over somebody, and then he meets you at the goal line. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, stuff like that in the house. So getting hit wasn't gonna stop me from trying to win the game. Yeah. And if we have conversations about what you're not willing to do physically, I can't do it. Because there's too many plays, as you guys know, involved in the game where it's me versus you. You coming at me, I gotta stop it. If you're gonna Olay every time, we're not gonna win the closest game, you know, in close ball games. That's how I feel.
Mm-hmm. So you said smart, skills, tough. Okay. I like that. I like that.
So the AAU game is totally different from when we was coming up. It's probably when we was coming up, probably like the beginning of the madness. How do you navigate recruiting, dealing with this AAU scene that's really trying to get a stronghold on the players and kind of dictate what they're gonna do?
I think, like everything, man, it just comes back to building relationships. You know, I pride myself, especially in this area. I got no enemies. I've done nobody wrong. Nobody can say, you know, he, you know, stabbed me in the back, or, you know what I'm saying, something like that. And I rely on that. You know, I wasn't a kid that was in the house or sheltered. I was really outside. So a lot of these kids, I know their uncles, or I know their cousins, or I know, you know, people like that. And then, you know, with that being said, is, you know, once I did get an opportunity to get like a good DMV player or a good player from anywhere, like, I had a good relationship with them, and they got better, and they had good college careers, and it didn't end there. You know what I'm saying? It was whatever they're doing, whether they're in the workforce or still playing professionally, that relationship is still there. They still come back to train, like, you know, all that kind of stuff. I'm at George Mason. I still train the UMass Lowell guys. Like, you know what I mean? It's because a lot of them are from here. Yeah. So, you know, with that being said, like, they know if I have a gym, they got a gym. Yeah.
Why was that important to you? Because I do see you do got long relationships with some of the guys that you coached a long time ago.
Honestly, I think as a player, and I'll speak for myself and my college teammates, it wasn't something that was afforded to us. Not necessarily from a coach's standpoint, but from an institutional standpoint. And it's not anyone's fault. You know what I mean? It's just things happen. Yeah. Coaches get new jobs, or they get let go. Academic advisors retire, you know, whatever the case may be. And then you look up and it's like, well, I don't know nobody over there. And if I was to go back, what would I do? Like, who would I go see? You know what I'm saying? And so for a lot of us, and that's why, you know, being able to work with at George Mason with Tony Skinn, guys like Lamar Butler, Following Campbell, John Vaughn. You don't know who these guys
are.
John Vaughn
over there?
Yep, in NIL capacity. Okay. Like, you know what I mean? So he's involved in a different type of capacity.
Okay.
But if you don't know who these guys are, these are players who were on one college team that went to the Final Four, and they all have some type of affiliation with the university that they played for. Mm-hmm. And to go back and to see that, you know, I just don't have the same experience. You know, again, that's not a shot at anybody. It's nobody's fault. It's just way their life goes. I think even as former players, we could do a better job of extending yourself back out and getting back, and helping out in any capacity that you can.
Yeah.
That's some of the things we want to do with this, just create that atmosphere,
Mhm.
for sure.
But I would, I try to make sure that my guys never feel that way. Like, even if you don't want to come back, you can live way out. I mean, you can come from Texas, like where it ain't even convenient for me to come to Massachusetts or to Virginia, or, you know what I mean? But you're gonna know that the door is open for you too if that's what you want to do. You know what I mean? And just try to stay. Social media makes it a lot easier probably than the last generations to stay in touch. You know what I mean? So I'm always inviting them. I let them know, like, need a ticket to a game, the family, whatever the case may be. You back in the area, you need to train, let me know. Like, I'll make myself available. All that kind of stuff I think goes a long way, and they appreciate it. And like I said, I never want them to feel like the place that they put their blood, sweat, and tears in is no longer like home. You know what I'm saying?
So then I know we touched on the social media thing. So, I mean, to me, it has its benefits and its takeaways as well. Me personally, I don't really like the whole social media presence within the game. I think, well, I'm gonna let you talk about it. How you think, like the pros and the cons of social media being in basketball?
Like you say, it's a lot of pros and cons. I think if handled the right way, the pros can outweigh the cons. I think we try to do the best job that we can as far as knowing who everybody is at all times. But let's be honest, it's 50 states. It's a lot of kids in each state. There's no way I'm going to know every single kid who's doing something in the high school or AAU basketball landscape. These algorithms, and I don't know how it works. I'm not that smart to know, but I guess because I'm a basketball coach and the things that I consume, I see kids from all over the country based off social media, their highlights, their things like that. Just that For You tab on Twitter. I don't know how it works, but you just get all types of just random stuff. And man, I go through them and like, who was this? Like, never knew who that was. And I like still being at the level where diamonds in a rough matter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I can go find somebody like, oh, ain't nobody really on him yet. Like, I can get in the gym with him. I could do something with that. As opposed to, like, sometimes you go too high and everybody wants to be at the highest level, but it starts to be kind of, like, we top 50 players in the country, we picking from this list and that's all we do. You know what I mean? Whereas, like, I like the grind, the chase a little bit of finding, and social media helps you out with that. At the same time, they can reach out to you. You know what I mean? Whether through the DMs, things like that. Obviously, the negative side of it is sometimes these are young, teenager, immature kids. They do have other interests outside of basketball, and they don't realize the things that they click, the things that they say. There is no deleting that, to a certain extent, and it could close doors for you. You know what I mean? If you're not educated about what you say, and I'm sure even as adults we go through it. Like, I'm the king of delete that. You know what I mean? Like, and these dudes don't know what they talking about. Delete that. Like, it ain't gonna do you no good. Just delete that. But when you 16, 17 years old, you don't think like that. You're like, man, wait, you gonna say it, and you gonna hit the send button. Think you can delete it later? It's out there. You know what I mean? And then for me, I'm gonna be honest. I don't know if this has ever been said on like a podcast. It's not the kids, it's the parents.
Oh my God. Yes, it is.
So
yes.
From the social media standpoint, this is how I feel. I have a theory. Probably even when we was playing, it was the beginning of getting educated on, like, Even though it wasn't like full social media, but we had MySpace and we had Facebook was
Black
coming.
Planet.
Black Planet, yeah. And you know, the Facebook was coming, and they were starting to say like, you know, be careful what you post, and you know, kind of somebody could take a picture of that and it never goes away. Like we kind of learned some of those things. We've been educated at that part for every camp you've been to, every team you've been a part of, you know, all that kind of stuff. And the younger generation has been hit probably with it since Pee Wee basketball, 8 and under basketball. Like they know. Guess who's not getting those seminars? Them parents ain't sitting in no seminars learning about none of this stuff that we go through at camp. So when they don't like something that happened in the game, they haven't been educated to know like you can't post that. And like I told a parent like, yo, you need to take that down. No, what you mean? Only my friends can see it. No, because I don't follow you. Like, you know what I'm saying? And I see it. Or I put it in my close friends. Yeah, but somebody can screenshot it. Like this whole 2-phone thing, like I'm watching it and I took a picture with my other phone. Yeah, because you think if they screenshot it, I'll know. And then I said, no, well, they got another phone. Take a picture of that with the other phone. Now they got all this evidence, and people have sent things that people have said that was controversial about a school, a coach, another player. To me, I'm not in your close friends, but I still know what was said in your close friends, like things like that. Parents, they don't know that stuff. You know what I mean? And again, I say it all the time. They hop online, whether they talking about a game that's currently going on, referees, bad substitution patterns, like what. We ain't dumb. Like we know who you're talking about. You know what I mean?
Subtweeting.
Yeah. So to me, I haven't really seen. Honestly, like it's been a long time since I seen like a kid post something and I'm like, yo, what is he doing? Like he's about to mess up his recruitment. I see way more parents and I'm like, they don't know what they're doing to their, like, it doesn't matter that it's you, it's gonna come back to your kid. And people are not gonna want to deal with your kid because of you, you know? So that's my theory on a lot of what's going on in social media these days.
I'm very thankful we did not grow up in this era of social media. I don't know if we would have been able to play.
Yeah.
They got cameras and everything you do now.
Yeah, everything, everywhere you go.
Yeah. What's your effect on how NIL is affecting recruiting and just your overall landscape of college basketball?
I want to start off by saying I'm happy that guys are getting their money. No hate over here. I'm glad that guys are getting paid for their name, image, and likeness. But let's not forget what NIL stands for, first of all. It is name, image, and likeness, which in layman's terms, if everybody's here coming to see you and they buying merch for you, you should be compensated for something. To a certain extent, I think we've lost a little sight of that. And, you know, for when we were coming up or something like that, like the Reggie Bushes, the Johnny Manziels of the world, like should have been paid a lot of money because they was must-see TV at a certain point. But now, you know, we're getting to the point where everybody thinks like if I'm on a Division I roster, I should be getting NIL. I should be getting something, which gets a little tricky. How it works with how it's affecting recruiting is I think it is starting to get away from relationships and people that multiple people can have your best interests at heart, but let's not lose sight of people that like I want to see you do well career wise because this NIL thing is only going to last. Hopefully you get paid for 4 years. Not everybody gets money in that first year, but hopefully you get paid for 4 years. And if the things go well playing wise, you have, like we talked about earlier, 8 to 10 more years of getting paid, hopefully more than that. But when you start making decisions based on the NIL that may not fit your playing, may not be the best playing or production situation for you, then it's going to become a situation where I made this money for this certain amount of years, and now I'm even starting way at the bottom. You know, if I can make it to Europe, or I'm not making it to Europe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? One of the two. Or we talked about the psychological side of basketball. Or if I go to too many of these situations where the basketball side doesn't work out for me, like, yeah, I made a couple dollars. Am I even gonna want to play anymore? People think like I'm a basketball player. This is like I'm a machine. I would just play back. No, we have emotions. We got things start to set in. Like you unsuccessful. Originally, you were like, I'm gonna just go do something else. You know what I mean? Like this basketball thing isn't fun anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm sure we've all been around kids like that where it just that passion just kind of burned out of them. They don't really want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
That happened to me.
Yeah.
Last second.
Yeah. So, from an NIL standpoint, the whole, it used to be try to get in there early, identify who the player is early, build that relationship with him and his family, know who the people is in his circle that's helping to make decisions and getting to know them as well. Now, we might as well skip all the, what you looking for, my man? What you looking for?
Yeah, that changed the whole flow.
Yeah.
Yeah. When it first came out, to me it was like it was a way for the top tier schools to get all the players again, because for a good minute they wasn't getting all the best players. They was just people just going where they wanted to go, where they knew they was gonna play, and that's when you see the guys coming from the smaller schools. But now it's like, oh man, we kind of losing our edge. Always in the NCAA, somebody's getting upset. Somebody else that we didn't really know too much about was going to the Final Four or winning the whole thing, because kids were scattered out. Now they found like, okay, well, we already have this money for our program, and we're gonna kick it out because, and I guess, a lot of kids that's not coming from, wealthy families and stuff like this, they looking at it like, hey man, this is gonna help me provide for my family, so I'm going where the money at. So yeah, that's
And I agree with that. I agree, like, again, if guys get their money, but I will also say what guidelines are in place. And it may not be on the NCAA to put guidelines in place for these kids, but we know where a good amount of the demographic comes from, that play these sports, and just throw you $100,000 and like, no education on, and maybe that's, I can see somebody being like, that ain't their job to do that.
Yeah.
But if this is still amateurism, and you know what I mean, these are student athletes, then I just don't think we're doing them. I think we're doing them a disservice to a certain extent, because again, when you get it that young, you don't see the end. You think I'm gonna keep getting this money. I mean, even adults as pros think that. Like, we remember the old documentary was Broke, and that was the main thing people saying. Like, you don't realize, like, someday, and a lot of times, in the sports we play, it's a collision sport. You don't get to choose that day.
Nope.
You know what I mean? Like, something go wrong one day, you step wrong one day, it's over. You know what I mean? Or I may never get back to the level that Isaiah Thomas, the left hand Isaiah Thomas, like, look at that, like, was at the top of the mountain.
Crazy, man.
At the wrong time of the season, something goes wrong and you never quite get there. Yeah. Dennis Schroeder, guys like that, who they still playing and all that kind of stuff, but people will say, I hate the term, oh, you can make that money back. Ain't no making no money back. Like, you lose the money, it's gone. Like, you may supplement for it somehow, but that whatever you lost, you don't get it back. You know what I mean? It's gone.
All right, cool. I'm gonna go into this game that we play, either or. Did you have any other questions?
Nah, let me go say that.
Okay. All right, so either or. So you get to pick both or one or the other. We ain't had no consequences to it yet. All right. Gwynn Park or Boston College?
Gwynn Park.
Okay. All right. Boston College or UMass Lowell?
I can pick both?
Yeah.
I'll take both.
Yeah, all right. Chauncey Billups or Jason Kidd?
Chauncey Billups.
Okay. Chauncey Billups or Darren Williams?
Darren Williams.
Okay. All right. All right. Gilbert or Dame?
I gotta go Gil.
Okay. All right. I got one. These are personal. Colin Cage or Todd Galloway?
Calvin Cage.
Okay, he went to hometown. Okay. Craig Smith or Sherrod Ford?
Both.
I feel that one. Okay. Ant Edwards or Shy?
Ant.
Okay. All right, all right. It's an old school one. Isaiah Thomas or Tony Parker?
Isaiah Thomas.
Okay. Coaching or playing?
Both.
Okay. Confidence or skill set?
Confidence.
Okay. System or free flow?
Free flow.
Okay. Respect.
Free flowing system.
Okay. Respect or wealth?
Respect.
Okay. Loyalty or love?
Loyalty.
Okay. All right, that was good. That was easy. That was real
Yeah,
flow.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
All right, so when we wrap up a lot of the interviews, we always ask, if there's any advice that you want to give out to parents and players who has, the aspirations that they want to take this game and possibly make a career out of it.
The saying I'm loving these days is probably normal to everybody else, but with be where your feet are.
I haven't heard that one.
Yeah, that's I don't know who I heard say that, but I've been running with that ever since. And I think for me, it's a microcosm of the small amount of success that I have had as a coach. I get the question all the time, like, "Oh, you was at UMass Low 9 years. Like, why was you there so long?" And it flew by to me. And the only focus was to just make sure, we did the best job I could, for that particular team, that particular season. I just kept doing the best job I could, every single day. I come to work every day, working out with my guys. I do that every day, and I don't do it for some type of end goal. You know what I mean? The end goal for me is that you got better, and is going to help us win, and you become a professional player at some point, if that's what you so choose to do. I think even as a player, your main focus, wherever you are, whatever team you're on, AAU team, high school team, let's not think about what's if I do this, what I'm going to get out of it. Just do that. And if you continue to do that at a high level, the end result that you want will come. And for me, the best kind of example of that happening to me, my recruitment was good. It wasn't like crazy to start out. My best offers were George Mason, George Washington, and Wagner to start. I go to a tournament, I do well. Tom Kachowski writes up. Every time I see him, he's better than the last time I saw him, which changed everything. Like just that write up right there, that little quote. All of a sudden, like I said, Boston College, Villanova, Miami started to reach out. And to me, that was just, he's working. You know what I mean? Like whatever it is he's doing, I'm not there in the gym with him, but whatever it is he's doing, every time I see him, he's better than the last time I saw him. And I tell my guys that, I stole that and ran with it. Like, just make sure it's not that difficult. You know what I mean? But we try to overcomplicate this thing as far as like how we try to get to where we trying to go. Say, hey, just make sure every time they see you, you're better than the last time they saw you. You can do that. Or I may even say, like, make sure you're better tomorrow than you was yesterday. If you just take that approach and that's your approach to things, I think you'll be fine in life. Just keep it super simple.
I like that. I like that. I like that. Okay, man. Well, again, we appreciate you.
Appreciate
This was
y'all,
a great
man.
appreciate
convo.
Thanks for having me, man.
I definitely felt like you dropped a lot of gems, a lot of things. I think I'm gonna take that one. The last piece that you
Yeah.
just said. I love that quote because I think outside of basketball, just in life, you know what I mean. Just try to be the best version of yourself, and just things kind of just happen when you
Yep.
do that, you know. Versus, well, if I do this, then this can happen. You know what I mean? So like that was real strong. So I appreciate your time and definitely good luck on the season.
Thank y'all for having me and good luck with the pod. I know y'all gonna do great things. Looking to check out some of the other guests y'all have on here.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. That wraps up another episode of Game Related.
We out.